All world champions have one thing in common: they all want to be world champions. These words from Li Fuhua kept echoing in my mind as I interviewed Tanni Grey-Thompson. Her story is filled with struggle, resilience, and defiance against the world. From a girl in a wheelchair, she grew into a Paralympic athlete and member of Parliament who changed British society. Her journey is profoundly moving. Tanni grew up in a small town in Wales. She was born with spinal cord injuries, requiring her to rely on a wheelchair for life. At that time, life in the UK was full of challenges for people with disabilities. And it was rare to see them in public because most chose to hide themselves. Her grandmother even refused to acknowledge her condition in front of others. Tanni often faced the indifferent gazes of passersby and the mockery of children. At school, other girls would call her cripple. Behind her back, deliberately placing toys out of her reach and laughing out loud. Yet even in such an environment, Tanni never bowed her head. She often said, "I never listened to anyone telling me what I can or cannot do." Even when taking a train, she refused help, throwing her wheelchair off the train herself and then climbing out. This unyielding spirit filled her days with challenges. Online, people left malicious comments. People like, "You should sit in the back of a cattle truck so you don't get in the way of normal people." Her response was simple: "Words like that will never define me. I won't change my beliefs because of their prejudice." Tanni's ambitions went beyond leading an ordinary life. She had bigger dreams: to become a wheelchair marathon athlete. However, the path was not smooth at the start. She searched everywhere for a coach, but no one was willing to guide her. One coach even bluntly told her, "I will never train someone like you." Tanni shot back sharply, "What do you mean by someone like you? A woman, a Welsh woman, or a woman with dyed hair?" "Oh, you're talking about a disabled person?" The coach, visibly embarrassed, could only mutter, "Yes, someone in a wheelchair." But this did not deter Tanni. She resolved to train herself. She practiced daily on the mountain roads of Wales, pushing her wheelchair even in the cold, with the skin on her hands rubbed raw and bleeding. For her, it wasn't about proving anything. It was about pursuing her limits and challenging herself. "For me, competing means aiming for the gold medal," Tanni once told me. "That's what I want, to be the best in the world and to win." She never saw herself as a victim. She wasn't content just to participate. She aimed to stand on the highest podium. Her efforts soon paid off. Tanni became a top athlete in wheelchair marathons, winning 4 consecutive Paralympic gold medals. The Guardian hailed her as Britain's greatest Paralympic athlete. Time and again, she proved herself on the track, carving out a path of glory with her wheelchair. In 2010, Tanni was appointed as a member of the UK House of Lords, becoming a life peer. This was a monumental breakthrough for someone who had once been overlooked by society. After taking office, she did not rest on her laurels. She challenged the fairness of the UK's honor system. She discovered a clear disparity between how Paralympians and Olympians were treated in terms of honors. This was not an easy fight. She openly called for policy changes and spoke out multiple times in Parliament. When asked, "When you fight against these injustices, there are 2 possible outcomes. One is that you win, but there's also the chance that you lose." Tanni responded firmly, "Yes, but being an athlete has taught me how to approach things. No matter the outcome, I will give it my all. Because I know that only by trying my best will I have no regrets." Once, a British journalist asked her in an interview, "You must feel like a tragedy, being in a wheelchair, right?" She coolly replied, "You, as a journalist, must feel like a tragedy yourself, right?" Her eyes flashed with defiance. "You face the same repetitive questions every day, writing the same articles, while I am pushing my own limits." Tanni's response sparked a huge wave of discussion, prompting many to rethink their stereotypes about people with disabilities. She never allowed herself to be seen as weak, never yielding even in the face of injustice and prejudice. To her, the real tragedy was not physical disability, but those who never dared to chase their dreams. Her presence changed how British society viewed people with disabilities. Today, every street and public space in London has accessible facilities. British media commented, in these past 40 years, what Tanni Grey-Thompson has done for people with disabilities surpasses that of any politician on Downing Street. But Tanni always humbly said, I never aimed to change the world. I was just selfishly pushing myself to the limit, trying to be my best. As it turned out, the world changed. Tanni's story is not just one of Paralympic glory, but also a true reflection of challenging oneself and confronting social prejudice. She never accepted others' definitions of her, but instead used her own efforts and achievements to change how others perceived her. Her presence reminds us, true warriors choose to face challenges head-on, no matter how daunting they may be.